Welcome everybody out there. Thank you so much for taking out your valuable time.
India is the largest office market in the world today in terms of net absorption.
Every property is unique location.
The 80 million total he mentioned. What are the factors for the GCC index?
Who's going to build their AI again?
Those centers will set up in India.
Yes. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Welcome everybody out there. Thank you so much for taking out your valuable time. I know it's a holiday, national holiday today, and you guys have turned up here. Thank you so much, first of all, for joining us for this event. So, in just a couple of moments, we're about to start the PROPDEX 2026. Thank you so much for our venue partners, the Mindspace REITs, which has greeted us with such a beautiful venue. I think everybody is adoring the kind of arrangements and we have. So thank you so much for the Mindspace REIT for helping us around with this venue partnership. Starting off with this event, I would like to call the intersection of the industry where real estate, finance, accounting, all are dwelled into this leading voice basically of the industry. So without any delay, I'm calling Professor Venkatesh Panchpagesan on the stage, who is the chairperson for the REIT, to start the proceedings with a welcome address. Please, round of applause, guys.
Hello. First of all, thank you for coming. This is a holiday, I know. It's definitely something that is not easy, so thank you. So just to introduce myself, I'm a professor of finance and real estate at IIM Bangalore. And more importantly, in the last about 15 years, we have been working with the government, state, central government, and the industry, as well as community as well, on everything related to real estate. So as part of that effort, this particular initiative that we started working with Abhishek and his team at CRE Metrics was to come up with some objective metric to evaluate how the commercial office market is doing. And just to give you a bit of my background, before I came to before I took up IIM Bangalore position, I was in the US for many years. I was part of large hedge funds, Goldman Sachs and so on. And part of my goal at in those organizations was to invest in real estate. So I was actually an investor. And as you know, the US market is highly developed. And we had all sorts of information about marketplace that we could invest in, that we could actually create strategies on. So when I came here and we started working, of course, the first impediment was the data. So that's where, once Abhishek and CRE Metrics started putting out this data, so we obviously were very excited, both from a research point of view and also in terms of what we can do for the entire industry, in terms of putting out some index, like the one that you're going to see today. So the first thing that struck me when I was kind of following this market was, whatever was coming out, was it capturing the true changes, what is happening on the ground? And so the first thing is whatever people are reporting, is that representative of what's happening in the market? And I'm going to tell you why we thought that was not the case. So that was one issue that we started with. The second issue is corner office in IIM Bangalore wanted to solve. Can we come up with some measure which is capturing everything that you want to capture about the office market? Is it representative of the marketplace? Does it do a pure apples to apples kind of comparison? So the net result of all of this is the CPRI that we are building. So for example, whether it captures everything, everything that we do in this index is based on effective rents as opposed to headline rents. So for example, there are leases where the headline rents are kept very high, and then you have a whole lot of what I call subsidies given that effectively reduces the rent figure but does not get reported. They are all hidden inside the leases. So as all of you know, if you're in the industry, you'll know that could be a big difference between what is reported as headline rents and what actually the cash flows are. The second part of it in terms of attributes, as I said, right, the tenant quality, the size of the building, the kind of amenities you provide, all of those things could vary lease to lease. How do we control for that? And the third part in terms of the data availability. So this is where Professor Shaudeep, who's going to talk a little bit later about the approach we are taking, it's basically bringing together not just this lease, but also the leases in and around that location. So let me give you an example, right? Suppose, let's say there is, in this particular building, the rents are what's the rent now? 350 per square feet, right? So, and this has moved from 350 to, let's say, 400 next quarter. But if the neighboring buildings, which are, let's say, after adjusting for the differences in quality, they are all seeing a drop in rentals. Then how do I look at this increase? Do I put a lot of weight on this, or do I look at what is happening in and around? So that's the adjustment we make in the index. So which means we not only look at a particular lease, but we are looking at all the neighboring leases to be able to come up with a better picture of what's happening in that micro market or macro market and so on. So that spatial adjustment to the leases makes the modeling extremely robust. And the nice thing about that spatial modeling is that we are not taking arbitrarily, let's say, a pin code or some other sort of a geographical separation which is man-made. So we are actually going using the latitude, longitude. So in other words, we are actually allowing the data to tell us, depending on what the distance is in a sort of a earth space, to be able to then determine how it controls the rentals. So the modeling is really high quality, and I can tell you why, because about a year back in the US, Columbia University came up with a similar index for the US commercial market. So they also had it called as a commercial rental price index. And we're going to show you that our modeling approach is far superior to theirs in terms of all the adjustments that we make with the data that we have. So in other words, I could say that the CPRI that we're going to be showing today is probably one of the best in the world in terms of capturing what is happening in the commercial market. So one other thing that I wanted to leave you before we get into the details is think of this index more like a stock market index, like a Nifty or a Sensex. So in other words, for example, in a company, there could be 100 shares which are outstanding in a company, and only one share gets traded. So then what happens is that the market price that you see is the price of that one share traded, not of the 99 shares that people did not trade. So in other words, in markets like stock market, there is a very quick adjustment to what is happening in the transactions to everything else. So the valuation of everything else, like the 99 shares, gets automatically reset as you see what is happening on the transactions. So we want you to think of it like this. Think of our index to be like a stock market index. So which means the index is capturing what is happening in the market today. It is not representative of what people are already rented out in the past, but it is going to help you understand what is going to happen in the future. So in other words, the index has got a lot more predictive capability than whatever else that you have in the marketplace. Because this is going to say, this is how the transactions are now set. So it's like marking to market in the real estate space, which is going to help you understand how things are changing. And the index is going to capture even more the change if collectively a location, let's say a bunch of leases are all going in the same direction. So which means if a lot of leases are starting to see a price rental drop, there is a greater chance that down the road you're going to see a lot more of basically the rents for the leases which are going to reset in the future, they're going to change. So that is what I'm going to propose here. So what I want you to take away from this is, here is an objective index, which means it is taking effective rents, which means it is already controlling for all the adjustments that people make under the within the lease, like hidden inside the lease, and keeping the headline rents very high. So it is adjusting for that. It is also adjusting for the fact that leases in and around have an impact on you. And it is also adjusting for a whole lot of amenities at a lease level. So which means whether the quality of the tenants, the quality of the building, and so on. So in my mind, this probably is the most objective measure of what is happening in the commercial rental space, commercial office market at this point in time. So one last point that I wanted to leave, where do we want to take this in the future? So I'm going to give you a very hypothetical example. So we have REITs. Mindspace is one of the largest REITs in the country. So think of a REIT holding multiple buildings or multiple offices. So now, when we look at REITs, right, there are two things. One is the top line, how the rentals are relative to the market. The other is the REIT price, which is being set in the stock market. So in order for the REIT stock price to have a good, let's say, the price discovery process for the stock, for the REIT in the stock market, if it has to work well, people should know how the top line is being changing. So in other words, if I have 3 buildings in 3 locations, and I've got a particular rent coming out of those buildings, how are those rents relative to what the market is paying or currently paying? So if suppose the rents are falling in those markets, then you should expect the REIT to also have a drop in their REIT price, and vice versa. So in other words, in order for us to even evaluate the performance of REIT in the stock market, you need to have a good understanding of how their rents are relative to the market rents that are being transacted at this point in time. So in other words, we think this index has a potential to be a benchmarking index for evaluating REITs. So if an investor wants to come and choose between the 2 REITs, I will pick the REIT which has a rental structure which is higher than the market rents that are coming out of this index. So this is a hypothetical. We've been trying to tell SEBI, and we have been trying to also educate the market that this has the potential to become a benchmarking sort of a measure for the performance of REITs. Okay, so with this, I'm Divyanshu. Yeah, thank you. And I'll be available for questions down the road.
So now for opening the entire event, I would like to have the opening remarks from Mr. Ramesh Nair, the MD CEO, Mindspace Business Park REITs. Please come up on the stage. Big round of applause, guys.
Thank you, Professor Venki, for the warm introduction and the intro to the index. Also, a very warm welcome to ma'am, Manindra Chima from SEBI. We also have Professor Saudeep Das. We also, Abhishek Kiran Gupta, the research guru. We worked together for a long time. Welcome to Mindspace. Welcome to Ascent Worli. Mindspace REIT owns around 69 buildings like this, totaling close to 44 million square feet, worth around 52,000 crores. So that's a little bit about Mindspace REIT. My communications head, Cheryl, who's organizing this event, told me to keep my remarks short. She said, given all the academics sitting here, research gurus like Abhishek, regulators like ma'am, I should keep my speech short. We are delighted to partner with both CRE Matrix and IIM Bangalore on this, the launch of the GCC commercial property rental index, the CPRI, and also relaunch the updated CPRI, which you're going to be doing today. For years, commercial real estate had one interesting feature. You ask 5 commercial brokers what the rent is, and you would get 6 different answers, and everybody was right. This index will finally give something which we all wanted, which is one version of the truth. This will also help decision makers. Every time anybody, an occupier, an owner, investor, they go to their bosses, the first question is this rental correct? And this is definitely going to help them. You can say that you don't have to argue with me. You can say you can argue with the index, Abhishek. So if you get it wrong, we'll come to you. India office story continues to grow. I was just checking the data. India is the largest office market in the world today in terms of net absorption. Abhishek, at 57 to 65 million square feet, which various IPC's research reports say. India is the largest. Last year, US, I hear, was only around 30 million square feet of net absorption, and China was around 25 million square feet. Europe, Germany, UK, all below 5 million square feet. So, and there's everything changing so fast. A few years back, it is how many days should I come to work? Today it is, will I have my job? Is AI going to displace my job? So the questions keep changing. This is a very important milestone, this launch of this index. And I'm sure this will lead to better data. Better data will lead to better decisions, more transparency, more maturity in the market. I still remember when I started my career in 1996, my biggest differentiator was I was the first broker who had a printout in my hand from a dot matrix printer. So that was my biggest differentiator. And today, people like you, Abhishek, you're doing such thought leadership stuff. Hats off to you. Very honored to have Manindra Chima ma'am with us today. Her leadership in SEBI has helped strengthen India's capital markets overall and has played a very important role in building investor confidence across the country. As a product today, not too many people invest in REITs. Only around 300,000 people invest in REITs compared to, I've heard, like 12 crore people who invest in the wider capital markets in the country. With this, I will hand it over to Ms. Chima. Over to you, ma'am.
A very good afternoon to all of you. Unlike Professor, I'm going to have to read. I cannot just stand and talk the way a professor can. So it's a privilege to join you at PROPDEX 2026. And I thank IIM Bangalore Real Estate Research Initiative and the CRE Matrix for inviting me for this event. As someone who has seen closely the regulatory evolution of REITs since early days, I am very happy by the initiative which has been taken by CPRI to deepen transparency in the commercial real estate. 6 editions of the CPRI index, is that right? So that tells their own story. An index earns credibility through consistent, rigorous effort over time. And standing here in Worli, which is a vibrant symbol of Mumbai's commercial evolution, I'm reminded of why such gatherings are important. They foster transparency and data-driven clarity that our real estate sector once lacked. And it is precisely this kind of transparency embodied in this index, which is being launched today, which builds enduring confidence amongst participants. From SEBI's perspective, the real estate sector is now inseparably linked with the deepening of our capital markets. We introduced the REIT regulations in 2014, and our intent in that was to invite retail and institutional investors to place their trust in rental income streams that could be reliably benchmarked, verified, and sustained. Today, REITs and InvITs have evolved into mainstream instruments that democratize access to high-quality income-generating assets, enabling capital recycling and supporting India's ambitions. At the end of 25-26, so the information is a little dated, by a few months, the AUM for REITs was around 2.38 lakh crores across premium portfolios of 185 million square feet. InvITs, which is sort of a sister product, manages approximately 7 lakh crores, totally representing around 4 lakh crores in market cap. Together, they represent 4 lakh crores in market cap and serving around 7 lakh investors, unit holders, through regular distributions. There are 14 crore investors today in India. And so this is a very small number, and the product needs to reach many more investors. The previous edition of this index offers valuable insights. Pan-India Grade A and A+ office rentals have compounded at 5 to 6% annually over the last 3 years, with sharper movements in key markets. Mumbai is, as per information that I have available, Mumbai CBDT posted year-on-year spikes of nearly 18%, while Navi Mumbai recorded a 3-year CAGR of above 10%, the highest among tracked cities. Importantly, IT parks continue to anchor Grade A stock and lead rental growth, underscoring the sector's resilience amid evolving work patterns. This points to a differentiated market where city and micro-market dynamics prevail. So granular data is now essential for sound decision-making by investors, lenders, and REIT managers alike. Something on trust. In the early years of REIT regulation, international investors often trusted physical buildings more than the rental data. That has changed thanks in no small measure to benchmarks like the CPRI. When in 2024, an earlier edition of this index was launched in the presence of then SEBI whole-time member, it signaled institutional conviction. High-quality data is a public good for capital markets. Such indices are safeguards for investors and pillars of market integrity. SEBI supports such initiatives, and this reflects our view that high-quality data is a public good. In an increasingly algorithm-driven world, robust information infrastructure is vital for stability. Capital markets at their core are confidence-building exercises at scale. This evening's panel on GCC centers is very timely. As we explore GCC expansion and AI impact on workplace strategy, technology's value ultimately rests on trust. Going forward, AI brings both significant opportunities and risks for the GCC sector. On the opportunity front, Indian GCCs are transitioning into strategic innovation hubs, leading AI-driven development, R&D, and enterprise transformation. This is projected to sustain strong demand for premium office space, with GCCs expected to absorb substantial square footage through 2030, bolstering occupancy and cash flow predictability for REIT portfolios. At the same time, there are risks, which include heightened competition for specialized AI talent, potential moderation in headcounts growth due to automation of routine tasks, and the imperative for rapid upskilling. These shifts are likely to create short-term adjustments in space utilization, but are likely to favor high-quality, adaptable, sustainable Grade A assets in the long run. Platforms like CPRI will be crucial in capturing these evolving dynamics, from headline rentals to nuanced insights on AI-influenced occupancy and micro-market resilience. From SEBI's perspective, we continue to refine disclosure norms, valuation standards, and governance frameworks for REITs and InvITs so that these transformations are transparently reflected, protecting investors while enabling innovation. My warm congratulations to IIM Bangalore, CRE Matrix on the launch of the 6th edition. I encourage you to push these indices further into green-rated buildings, broader coverage of stock, and granularity needed for financial products. From SEBI's side, our commitment remains steadfast, facilitating responsible access to REIT and InvIT structures while insisting on rigorous data and governance. Together, this work advances a transparent, liquid, and globally trusted Indian commercial real estate market, one that supports sustainable growth and inclusive prosperity. Thank you, and I wish you all a very productive and insightful afternoon.
Thank you so much, Ms. Chima, for such kind words. That was really motivating for us to keep on getting more editions and editions of this particular index. So on that note, we have talked a lot about this index. So now is the time to know what minds have actually used behind this index. So guys, this is the time to know the methodology behind the index. For that, I would like to call again Professor Venkatesh on the stage, along with Professor Saudeep, to help us know the science behind this particular index, how it has been discovered, and what will be the use that the industry can take from it. Please, over to the professors from IIM Bangalore. Big round of applause, guys.
Thank you so much, and I'm really great to see such good turnout. As many people have said, on a holiday you have come. So I think what we are trying to do is to give a very, I would say, high-level overview on what we have done. Before starting off with that, I think it's good to know who I am. So you have heard my name. I'm actually a professor of statistics. So real estate was, I would say, far outside my comfort zone until I started working on this. And now I think I'm really hooked onto it because I think from a statistical point of view, it gives a lot of new challenges which we really want to tackle with the advancement in statistical methodology. You are hearing the word artificial intelligence, so that's essentially my domain when it comes to being in the academia. So I was earlier in the US working in a very different domain, so I had a brief stint of corporate exposure through a television company. Then I decided to move back to academia, and now I think what I'm trying to do is to merge academia with industry to leave some impact. So it's good to get the encouragement from Ms. Chima as well that it can be helpful for regulators or other government agencies, as well as I'm sure it's going to be helpful for industry. Again, before proceeding, I think we are nothing without our actual hands who do it. So there were two people primarily who have worked on this kind of thing intensively. My earlier PhD student Kapil Gupta and current PhD student Shagun Srivastava. So they are really the people to thank for doing the hard work. What we are doing is essentially bringing certain ideas. So with that being said, I think what I'm going to give you is just, as I said, a very high-level overview. It's like an academic presentation. Please bear with me. I'll be here again to answer your questions as we move forward. The idea, what we wanted to go ahead with is that if I build an index for, let's say, commercial properties, then it should be designed to track the pricing trends appropriately. But along with it, you need to control for things that we already know add a premium to it. Just as we are sitting in this particular building, we know that because it is a nice building, it already adds a particular premium to it, as compared if there is something just side by side. So first step is to kind of remove the effect of what external things bring into the market, because that may not truly be the reflection of how the market is progressing. So the way you should treat this index is how the market is progressing once you have taken care of everything else that you know already adds an additional amount to the actual rental price we see. The second thing was that we needed to build something which is robust. Robust in the academic literature, it means that there should not be abrupt change just because there is one transaction which is pretty high or pretty low in a particular market. So we are pretty sure now, after doing a lot of evaluation, that our methodology, it's a spatio-temporal methodology, as Venki earlier pointed out. We want to take care of how things are changing with respect to neighboring locations, how things are changing with respect to previous time points. So we have built a robust spatio-temporal methodology so that we get a much better and much more accurate reflection of the market movement. And we believe it's going to be helpful for better decision-making on various regards. As I think Venki has already pointed out, we have confirmed it with several validation on on the data set that we have got, that it is much superior to the existing techniques that are out there, including the latest one in the US, if you want to call it. So in that regard, we are really proud to have produced this thing methodologically. So coming to the main philosophy of the methodology, I would say there are broadly 4 points I want to raise. First one is that we want to capture the influence of every property's unique location on the neighboring properties. So as I said, it might happen that one particular property was built to cater to GCC, and therefore we have seen an uptick on how the rentals are going up. But then if a new building comes up just on an adjacent plot, then they will also benefit from it, right? So that benefit we capture through what we call a spatial dependence pattern. The other thing is how things are moving ahead with time. It might be related to various types of rules and regulations, various types of interest rates here and there. So we capture both of these things appropriately, and essentially the way our methodology is designed, we can go to any granularity. Right now we are producing the index at a city level, at a macro market level, but in theory, if you want me to do it, just tell me by evening I will roll out it at a building level. Because that's the advantage of what we are doing. We go down to every transaction according to the latitude, longitude, and then we take advantage of the neighboring locations in terms of the geological distance that we see. Then what we have also seen is that it can assess the influence of developments in the entire market appropriately. So overall market trend in terms of time is estimated directly. Our methodology follows a Bayesian approach. It's a theoretical setting in the statistical domain. What it helps truly is that it's pretty robust in terms of implementation, as well as moving ahead. We are rolling out the index every quarter. So for every updation phase, although the data is growing exponentially, we really do not suffer any computational bottleneck in that regard. And finally, it's scalable beyond imagination. So in the sense that right now we have data, pretty good data for 8 large cities, 10 broad markets. But if tomorrow, I think Abhishek will probably talk a little bit more about it. If tomorrow, let's say, other 2 cities who are trying to grow up, if they actually have a lot more data, give it to us. We'll create the index pretty fast, and that it will not be challenging for us from the methodology standpoint.
One more thing.
Yeah.
We can also go down to a single building. So we can actually do the whole index at a building level.
Yeah.
So which is, again, a very powerful method to adopt, especially when you're looking at REITs, which is nothing but a portfolio of buildings.
Yeah. So I think this has already been addressed by Venki in the opening remark, that we do not work with the headline rent. We work with effective rent, and there was a lot of iterations, lot of discussions between the IMB team and CAD Metrics team. Eventually, many things are captured, as you can see on this slide. We take care of rent, lease term, periodic rental escalation, security deposit, rent-free period, moratorium period, etc., to eventually come up with the main variable for us. That's we call it effective rent. Again, I have seen that this is something similar which is done in maybe all other countries. However, I think what we are doing is a little bit more intensive in terms of all the factors that we take care of. Now, as I said, we are relying on a spatiotemporal methodology. So it might sound like I would say, academic term. Let me try to break it down. I'll just show what we are really trying to mean here. So in the first graph, this is actually the map of Bangalore. The left-hand side, imagine that's the first time points data which I have got, and suppose there are only 7 or 8 transactions happening. If we move on to the time point 2, you can see some new transactions have come up, which are shown with the red color. The blue ones are which are probably already active since the last time point. So what we want to now build in, there should be some sort of temporal dependency as we move from time point 1 to time point 2. So we recognize, first of all, that the active leases are still active, so they still contribute some information. That's one key difference from the existing methods that are there in the US or in the other markets. They do not focus on what happened in the earlier quarters. They only look at the new transactions, and therefore they miss certain signals. The second thing is that we rely on the proximity to it, and that proximity, we say that it's a function of distance. As I said, if they are neighboring buildings, they have a lot more impact on each other. Maybe they share particular properties, which are particular characteristics which are related to that particular region. It might have closeness to a big highway. It might be close to a particular metro station. All those things are captured through how close to each other in terms of the latitude, longitude are. I think I'll just show another real example from the latest quarter's data in Bangalore. So again, these are all dots indicate individual transactions in Bangalore. And the color coding is done by macro markets. So some people who have seen our report, you might have seen that overall there is a slightly decreasing trend over the last couple of quarters. So let me highlight why that is coming out in our index. If you look at the eastern side of the city, these are bigger circles. Bigger circles are indicating that if I compare it to the last time point, there is an increase in the effective rent pattern. But if you look at the left-hand side as well as the central business district, which is the red points, you see on the effective rent, they are going down. The smaller circles indicate they are going down. Now, in our methodology, what happens is that once we look at a particular point and we see that it's going up, we also look at what happens in the surroundings. So therefore, if we start from the easternmost point, I would imagine that that area is growing faster because not only it goes up, but its neighbors also goes up. But if I look at the left side of it, these are slightly bigger circles, so they are going up. But if I look at their neighbors, they are going down. So effectively speaking, in our methodology, we'll see still a decreasing trend or maybe at best a same level trend for the western side of the city, but you will see an increasing trend on the eastern side of the city. The other thing is that this distance is a function of latitude, longitude. So even though those are neighbors, the existing methodologies might treat them as different macro markets. Because there is, as Venki pointed out earlier, there is a man-made boundary. You call something Whitefield in Bangalore, you call something Outer Ring Road. But they are essentially neighboring. So if something goes up in Outer Ring Road, do we really need to believe that that will not impact the Whitefield? The answer is no. So that's where our methodology's continuous smoothing approach helps out. I think another important point is that we also rely on how many transactions we have and how many reliability we have in that latest data. So if next quarter we get only one transaction in Bangalore, I will rely much less on it even though it says that there has been a 40% increment. The more number of transactions we see, the more reliability we have. So this is in statistical terms what we call is precision-based smoothing. Essentially what we do is to look into how correct we believe we are in our modeling in the latest quarter data as compared to last quarter, and we do a rebalancing. So broadly, these are the key advantages. First, it's a model-based indexing. Second, we are doing continuous tracking of all transactions. If you want us, we'll generate the index at any granularity at any time point. So for a daily index also, it is possible. It's just for our convenience, we are rolling out it at a quarterly basis and at a macro market level. We do a comprehensive coverage of all building grades. So the earlier CPRI that was released 2 years ago, and we have maintained it throughout the 6 quarters, as Ms. Chima has pointed out. So that talks about the index for grade AA+, but it doesn't mean that we can stop there. We can also roll out an index for grade B, grade C if there is an interest. Finally, each location's impact is calculated based on the overall influence of active leases as well as the new transactions what we see. So that's about the methodology part of it. Who can benefit? I think all of us who are in this particular room. So investors can benefit by understanding the rental trends, how it's changing in market to market, which market to focus on. If I talk about the GCC tenants, they can figure out where to venture out, or should we really look at a different market before setting our own office. Developers can make sense of it. We can figure out that policymakers also have certain important, I would say, insights that they can gather from this index. And finally, REITs, I think that's already in our agenda. We want to do it. For every REIT, we can look at how their business is across different cities, markets, and we can create a REIT level index. I think going back to one of the earlier comments I heard, that green index probably is of interest. That's already in our plan. So I think CAD Metrics team is collecting suitable data, and they will give it to us. We'll roll out a green index also pretty soon. I'm committing, I don't know, I believe everyone is okay on this part. So that's the generalizability of our approach. As I said, we can do anything related to this kind of commercial properties. We are also willing to do it for residential markets eventually, but that's probably a different discussion and not particularly for these platforms. Maybe with that, I will stop. Venki, if you want to add anything.
Any questions generally? I mean, I don't know whether this is the right time. Do we have a separate Q&A or? Separate Q&A. Okay, so largely just to summarize, so the index, the methodology, we have really thought through. We think it is state of the art in the global sense, not just for India. In terms of what it is trying to capture, we are absolutely confident it is capturing the market trends that is happening in that particular type of property, in that type of location. And more importantly, the usage, as I said, it's probably an index which is more useful about what's going to happen in the future as opposed to what has happened already in the past. So it's a very predictive kind of an index. So we should be able to use it since we have been tracking from 2014. So we have created the index starting from 2014. So you have enough data. So as more and more quarters come out, we ourselves are going to build a lot of analytics around the index, to both in its predictive power as well as how it can actually see where in the marketplace things are going to happen and so on, especially like GCCs and so on.
So now is the time that we all are waiting for to witness the launch of the office rental index. So I would request, first, let's start with the AV for the launch.
Are you a developer tracking the next growth corridor, an investor looking for emerging office markets, or an occupier planning your next expansion strategy? Then the answers start here. India's office market is being reshaped at an unprecedented pace, and at the center of this transformation are global capability centers. With 12% of India's occupier base, global capability centers command more than 300 million square feet of office space, over 1/3 of the country's Grade A stock, making them the largest and most influential occupier segment in the market. Yet for years, rental benchmarks have looked at the office market as a whole, but a segment of this scale, depth, and strategic importance deserves its own lens. Today, that lens is here. GCC Office Rental Index is India's first commercial property rental index built exclusively for global capability centers, developed by IIM Bangalore and CRE Matrix. The index tracks effective office rental movements across India's leading capability center markets, backed by mapping of over 1 billion square feet of office stock, 2,000 plus commercial assets, and 19,000 plus lease transactions, and strengthened through advanced statistical modeling. It reveals where demand is gaining momentum, which markets are emerging as future leaders, how rental movements are influencing location strategy, and what the next phase of capability center-led growth means for India's office market. Unveiling the GCC Office Rental Index report, tracking the pulse of India's capability center revolution, mapping the future of commercial real estate.
First of all, I would like to call Ms. Chima. Please join us on the stage, followed by Mr. Ramesh Nair, Mr. Abhishek Kiran Gupta, Professor Venkatesh, Professor Saudeep, and also I would like Mr. Pranab Bhalla to join us on the stage as the author of this particular report. Guys, please, big round of applause, guys. Have a big round of applause, guys, please, at the moment. So thank you so much for a great launch of the Office Rental Index report. So now everybody is waiting for what all will be the GCC takeaways for the quarter, for the future, and also how this will shape our country's future when it comes to the global capacity centers looking at our country as their go-to option for their commercial spaces, offices, retail, and whatnot. So everybody should at least know what is this index about, what all are the takeaways that you can use from it in your daily decisions when it comes to the commercial real estate. To enlighten you with all the takeaways from this particular index, the predictive analytics, and also how it is going to impact the different hotspots of our country, to explain everything in detail, there is going to be the man behind CRE Matrix, Mr. Abhishek Kiran Gupta, CEO and co-founder CRE Matrix, is going to let you know, guys, how all the takeaways from this particular report are going to shape the industries. Over to Mr. Abhishek Kiran Gupta.
Thank you very much, everybody. Where do I start? Hold on, let me begin with my team first. Thank you very much. I love you guys. Ramesh, thank you for this. Ms. Chima, we need your blessing. I said that earlier, but I'm saying it again. professors. I've known you for so many years. It's just every time I meet you, I learn something new. My friends who have come to speak, I'm between you and your panel, so I'm going to keep it short. And everybody else, media, who's come to listen to us, we are very proud of this. And before I start my presentation, I want to mention 3 things that why should we be so proud as Indians? And let me go back to my 3 speakers before me. Professor Venki, you started by saying that this is probably the methodology best in the world, better than NYU, and I love that. But that's also because we have now amazing data in India. We have friends from Singapore, we have friends from Australia, we have friends from the clients. And they say that what CRE Matrix has done for India in terms of depth, accuracy, comprehensiveness of data, they don't even have in those developed nations. Let me put this on record. Second, coming to what Ramesh said, obviously we work together, dear friend. He mentioned one thing. India is the largest country now in terms of leasing space in office annually. That's a very big statement to make, guys. We should be proud as Indians. India is the only 3rd country which has got more than 1 billion square feet of office space. And having said that, out of the 80 million total, he mentioned net absorption, but the 80 million total leasing, we are nearly 50% of that. Wow. 50% and rest of the world, right? Remember we had Nadal, Djokovic, and Federer. That's it. That's where the tennis legends end. Third, coming to Saudeep's comment. He mentioned we can do analysis at a building level. Why? We've got more than 50 indices. We have an index for India, we have an index for Hyderabad, and for high-tech city. Because the data is available at a unit level. This building has how many offices? Ramesh? Let's say, yeah, we would have all 10. If there's a larger building, 1 million square feet or a 2 million square feet office building, we would have data for all of them. So when you have data at that granularity, you can then do it at a unit level, building level, street level, Worli level, Bombay level, and India level. And that's something, right? So now with those wonderful anecdotes, now let's go to my presentation. That's exactly what I said. We are already at 1 billion square feet, and we are completely poised to reach 1.3 billion square feet. Now, this is not coming from anywhere, right? We have this data, thanks to RERA, thanks to our foot soldiers who travel and see all these buildings. We keep an eye on these buildings all the time, which is why the bankers love us. They want to know, should I give the loan or not? We saw this earlier, 180 million. Again, guys, billion square feet, 1,000 million. 180 is owned by Ramesh and his friends. All the REIT CEOs, they own 180 million square feet. But what is interesting to note is, another 600 is up for grabs, guys. Ramesh, when are you buying these? These are up for grabs. Now, if you're going to have so many REITs in the market, they need to be able, there has to be a parameter or there has to be an index or something to rank them, to compare them. How do you do that? We are the largest growing economy in the world and we never had an index. What a shame, ma'am. We've done it. So we are proud of that as well. So this is the potential which India is going to see, and which is why it's such a good thing that we have SEBI representative here. This is what's going to happen. You're going to meet me after a couple of years. Hopefully this number would have swapped, right? And therefore the need for this index. Now coming to GCC. Now, you know, I don't think people understand what GCCs are. I'll keep it very simple. Oracle has offices here, and they're doing more work than just BPO and KPOs. They're doing smarter work because Indians are super smart. They have offices here. Those are global capability centers, and they occupy 1/3 of India. So we have total occupiers in India about 18,000. GCCs are about 2,000, which is only 11-12%. But they occupy about 1/3 of India. So they are a force that you cannot ignore. They're a force to reckon with. And many a times, they actually lead the show. Out of the total million square feet, 850 is occupied. Something will be empty, right? There'll be some space empty. So of which 850, 300 is occupied by them. And which is why the need for the GCC index. Again, I'm going to repeat. There's an index, which is an India level. There's an index for Hyderabad. And there's an index for Hyderabad GCC. How different is that compared to other occupiers? Important to know. And very soon, he's already stolen the show, but he's already mentioned and committed to you, we will have a green index soon as well. Are green buildings trading higher than the other buildings? The answer is yes, but we'll see by how much. So as I already mentioned what GCC is, I'm not going to read this slide to you. GCCs have been in India for about 20, 25 years now. But now and we'll see, we have a slide dedicated to that. How much of that 80 million square feet that we lease in a year, how much do they lease? Some examples for you to see. Right? And I was with media before my presentation, and I always say this everywhere I go, that my only grudge against my country is that we need to get out of these big cities. We need the Kochis, Chandigarhs, and Lucknows to stand up. Only then we'll reach the next billion. Otherwise, nahi hone wala. So see, there you go. So out of the 80 million, about 30 million is leased by the GCCs. That's in 2025. And we expect that number to even rise further in 2026. So if you look at the math again, 30 out of 80, 83 is back to the 35, 36%. Right? So the numbers just gel like a jigsaw. Okay, I've already shared why are we so proud. Of course, we are proud because this is India's first rental index. That I've already said earlier. We're also proud because our partners are IIM Bangalore. Can I say you're the number one, number two? Let's not do that. A top institute. So we're very proud of that. We are also very proud that we do this every quarter. We're also very proud because the methodology is fantastic, and I didn't know that we are better than NYU. I'm going to do a LinkedIn post on that. So yes. Yeah, now we come to the GCC. Of course, please read the report. It's a nice 40-page report. Do read that. But you can see this dolphin. Can everybody see the dolphin finish? So the GCCs, please do not mistaken this as the rental itself. This is an index which takes into account multiple things, but the most important thing is the change, the delta. So the delta, which was always higher for the GCCs, it seems it's sort of getting close. That gap is reducing or reduced. What does that mean? Startups like us and our friends are also paying good bucks for good buildings. What part of India is doing? Amazingly, Navi Mumbai at 13%. It was top of the charts even last quarter. It is again top of the charts. But there are many other markets which are doing well. So that's the comparison of different cities and how have they performed on a Q-on-Q, Y-on-Y, and a 3-year CAGR basis. Yeah, with me, everybody? Now, guys, this is only a single quarter, which is Q1 2026. And Pranav, Q1 is calendar or fiscal? Calendar, of course, right? Because fiscal though is still left, June. So this is January, February, and March. In that, the lion's share of GCC goes to these two cities. I'm not going to give you any points for guessing that. But the next one we're going to see Navi Mumbai rise. We're going to see Pune rise. So yes, Hyderabad and Bangalore are the biggest. We all know, if those who don't, the biggest campus of Amazon and the biggest campus of Google is getting built in Hyderabad. Another proud moment. But yes, we're going to see many other cities catching up. And this is, again, I'm repeating, the GCC footprint, not the overall footprint. And Ramesh, when we were in JLL, we were at a dollar country. The dollar kept moving up, the rent kept moving up, we're still a dollar country, right? Now that's a good thing actually, because we consistently as a country kept improving our quality of buildings, or quality of tenants, keeping the rent the same from a dollar perspective. You can't get better than that. Think of it from a guy who's sitting 5,000 kilometers away, looking at India 20 years back, he had the same rent, the buildings were probably not that good, but now you've got international standard buildings at the same rent. What else do you want? No wonder Oracle has no space, or they're cutting down space in America and then adding space here. So that's it, there you go. This is the journey. In rupees, huh? In dollar terms, it's still a single, $1. Yep, I say this and people quote me all the time. Oil is history. Data is water now. You can't live without it. Thank you so much.
So now I think we're going to open the session for the media and Q&A. May I request Mr. Abhishek Kiran Gupta again to be on the stage, along with Professor Saudeep and Professor Venkatesh.
Yeah, we'll take any questions, both on the methodology, the application, and of course the final output. We can answer any questions you may have.
I just had a quick question. So one of the methodology you were saying that there's an impact of various factors. Have you encountered something like, how do you encounter for something like a COVID or something which is out of the ordinary, like a black swan event? How do you model for that?
See, typically these exogenous shocks is very hard to model, because the whole point of modeling is something that we know that's going to happen, which is going to have an impact. So typically the things like COVID, it will show up in the numbers in terms of a drop. So it will be used more to explain why the index has dropped. But you can't put it into the model unless you can predict the next COVID events. So, I mean, if I could predict it, I would be not standing before you, I'll be making some money out of this. So you guys all are good with the model? We can give a quiz now? Yeah, sure, please.
Hi, my question is around to what level of detailing you get into that when you define a grade of the building. Suppose each building has very unique features in its own. How far you go, how deep you go when you define grade A? Two buildings will have naturally so many different features. So how much weightage you give and what is the methodology around that?
See, from our side, we are taking data from CRE metrics, which are grade A plus. So the
I'll answer that question.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so primarily there are 8 parameters. One would be the location, then the tenant quality, the size of the building, and very importantly, whether it is strata sold or single owned. So if it's a single owned building, it's automatically grade A. Then of course the new parameters in terms of do they have a cafe, is there enough social activity there, and green. So these are some 7-8 parameters which we primarily use. In India, we've been a little flexible, otherwise the entire Nariman point will become grade C, which is not something that we want to be unfair to. So we will be a little flexible because India is still an emerging nation. But other than that, these are the parameters we use.
So Abhishek, by when do you expect India to become at par with other nations?
In what sense?
The example that you gave that we are grade C.
Oh, that was Nariman Point?
No, not Nariman Point. So are there any such buildings? I'm sure there would be in BKC and others, but by when do you expect a city like Mumbai, which is tier 1 and the financial capital, to match the equal status compared to where you were trying to compare it with?
So it can't. Because
Never.
you cannot, no. See, never say never, but Mumbai and Delhi started building in 1970s. So unless you break down the whole building, like a Dubai would do, then it's not possible to retrofit those buildings, right? But if you look at Bangalore, you look at Hyderabad, you look at all of these newer cities, Pune, they're all getting built in the last 10, 15 years. So those buildings are automatically grade A+, and probably given grade A++ now. So yeah, so at a country level, out of the billion square feet, we are handsomely at 600 million, which is grade A+, because they are built in the last 15 years. Which, if you look at independently, would be much bigger than many countries combined put together, including Europe. America, China separate, right? So
actually, from a new stock point of view, I think we would be comparable now. It's just the old stock needs to be taken care of.
Yeah. So we'll put a note of Mr. Fadnavis that he's bought a building, right? He's bought a building in Air India. So we'll try to bring it down and rebuild it.
Yeah, hi. Yeah. So I have a question for Venki, sir. Last time I remember you saying there's a lag between this data and what actually comes into existence. Let's say the agreement is done today, occupancy is going to be after some time. Have you able to enhance that data in terms of getting that lag down, or is it still same?
Actually, we have. So it's a little bit complicated because it depends on the various conditions. Be happy to take it offline, I'll give you, but you're absolutely right. I'm glad that you raised it. And I'm glad to find one person who was there in the previous launch and here. But yes, that was one of the feedback that we did adjust for this time.
Hi, over to Abhishek. In one of the slide you have mentioned, I believe Navi Mumbai is the rising star. Like 3-year CAGR is 13% plus kind of thing. What are the factors for the GCC index, or in normal also, in general also? What are the factors which is propelling Navi Mumbai becoming the rising star?
So my favorite is always infra. I always keep infra before real estate. But the quality of developers have gotten better. Therefore, the quality of buildings have gotten better. And if you look at just absolute numbers, Navi Mumbai 6 or 7 years back was leasing 1.5 million square feet. Last year it leased 4 million square feet. So we're seeing all of these combination of these 3-4 factors. Of course, Rahejas are there. Now there are so many other developers, top developers coming there to build. Now now, as I said, infra and all keep aside. But good quality buildings to stay, good social and weekend activity to do is important for the whole ecosystem to develop, without which any one asset class cannot survive. All my life when I grew up, Santa Cruz where I live was only a residential area. Now every third building is a commercial building after they break down the residential tower. So that is the new ecosystem, and COVID has only amplified it further. So Navi Mumbai was always good in infra, better than Bombay. It's just getting better. Now it's at its own airport, which is supposedly bigger, better than the Bombay airport. So it's all of these things put together.
So primarily you see that the infra was there, but now it started capitalizing whatever the infra upcoming or what already it was there. Like.
And the affordability.
Great.
If you want to open an office in Bombay, be ready for paying 200 plus. There you can get it for less than 100.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Just had a couple of questions on the micro market linkages that you mentioned. So there are certain micro markets, especially in Bombay, where certain buildings are trading far above the market average. BKC, there are certain examples. So how are you smoothing out? I mean, if there's an extreme outlier, how are you sort of averaging out the data?
Yeah, so in our methodology, we look into this thing as an outlier treatment first. So if there is, let's say, a single outlier, then we first Winsorize it, which is a statistical term to indicate that we consider the value as something that is acceptable as not an outlier. It's still high, but it's high with respect to how the market is behaving. But if we see, let's say, 10 outliers, then we don't call all of them outliers. We say that's a market trend. That's why we look into what's happening in the neighboring areas. And because our calculation starts with this controlling for various factors, so if just one building has a lot of amenities and that's the reason why they have put a high rent, that will be automatically captured in the effective rent calculation, and subsequent model will be able to handle it.
So you should go by effective rent and not the headline rent. See, a lot of times the numbers of headline rents are pretty high, but then the landlord is giving a whole lot of freebies on the side, which actually makes their effective rents comparable to everybody else. It just shows, so those adjustments are already controlled for.
Also, one thing that you mentioned during the presentation is you can sort of predict the rentals of the next micro market based on changes on one micro market. So are you using like predictive analytics? Like how do you do that?
Yeah, so I think it's probably a difficult area to talk about. We have done some validation on what happens in the predictive analytics, but I think
the analytics we have at this point in time, we have not decided how to go about it. We know the design of the model is such that it is predictable. So the next few iterations, we will come up with analytics as well.
I think the another point is that if we predict something and if it doesn't happen because the developers did not like it, then what do we do, right?
Can I ask a question? Huh? Am I allowed to ask a question? I'm still digesting that whole NYU. Oh, no, to you. To the whole, I'm still digesting that whole India versus NYU or IIMB.
Columbia.
Or Columbia, even better. Oh, even better. Just one thing why you think we are better than them. For my friends.
Yeah. See, basically, if you have to say it in one way, they use a modeling technique which takes, for example, location. Let's take an example of a location, right? It will be based on Worli. Let's say Worli will be the location. But Worli, entire area of Worli is not homogeneous.
Mm-hmm.
The Worli which is adjacent to some, let's say a higher priced area will look and feel different to a Worli which is facing off another area which is not.
Sure.
So if you keep location as a man-made boundary, then you will have an issue, right? Because one part of Worli will look different.
Sure.
Their modeling approach uses that. Our modeling approach uses the geospatial location of the building. So if this building is adjacent to other more expensive buildings, it will look and act like that. Even though this is in Worli, the other buildings are in the neighboring location. So we don't force a man-made boundary. We allow the data to tell us based on its latitude and longitude. So to that extent, it is a significant improvement to what they have.
So another point is that, in fact, in their paper also they acknowledge this as a one-line limitation, but because we have gone through the paper well, we realize it. So one of the limitations is that although they claim they can create the index at a building level, but they are limited by how many transactions happen in the building. So as you pointed out, maybe here there are 10 transactions, so 10 leases are going to be there, right? So in their methodology, they can create an index for this building. But if in the next term there is only one single transaction, they cannot. That they acknowledge.
Oh, wow.
We still can, because we rely on neighboring things.
Oh, nice. Because that can happen all the time, right? BKC might have a new building come up. The Japanese might make a new building and there'll be 100 transactions. The next quarter, there's no new building. There's only 2 transactions. Interesting. Thank you.
Sure. So again, please take a look at the report, and if you have any more questions, I think our email IDs are there, and you are welcome to shoot some questions outside the event as well.
Yeah, quick question. I haven't seen the report yet, but is there a way to access the data? Let's say if I want to understand a particular hyperlocal in terms of what is the trend, either in terms of effective rent or even the index. Is there a way to look at it?
Index 100% yes. Data also 100% yes, but you would pay for it.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's one more question. I think this is the last question will be taken in.
Hello. As per infrastructural growth in going into tier 2 cities, that methodology works into same as per your report in tier 2 cities also?
Yeah. See, for us it is agnostic. As long as we have data, so if there are enough buildings which are eyeing transactions and we have the latitude, longitude, we should be able to build the same. So the model will adjust for whether it's tier 2 or tier 3 by looking at the price trends.
But Professor, does it have to have a minimum critical mass? If it's not 30 million square feet, don't give it to me. If it's not, is that a constraint there?
I think we just need the number of transactions, not in terms of the size of the transactions. Because we need enough numbers to estimate the model.
So there's to be enough churning, enough action for us to be able to.
So as you can imagine, we started, actually the index is rolled out from 2014, but we take advantage of data since 2011. So in that regard, if you can give us, let's say, 4 or 5 years of data, we can start creating it. But every year there has to be some transactions happening.
Good. That again goes back to my same point, right? That we need, India needs to get out of these 8 cities. Hopefully Ahmedabad will be next.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so I would request Abhishek Kiran Gupta to stay there. Okay. So now, guys, we'll be starting with the facilitation of our inaugural speakers. By one, we're calling them on the stage, and Mr. Abhishek Kiran Gupta will be felicitating them. To start with, first of all, I would like to call Miss Manindra Chima on the stage so that, we can go for the Jade Sapling felicitation. Thank you so much. Next, I would like to call Mr. Ramesh Nair to be on the stage. I would like to call Professor Venkatesh Panchpagesan. Now I would like to call Professor Saudeep on the stage. Big round of applause, guys. So guys, so far we have understood like how the industry is being shaped, how the things are going to dwell when these findings from the GCC index actually gets into the industry. Yeah, it will take some time to sink in, and it will also take some time to where actually we start using that in our daily real estate decisions. So now getting into the second half of our this beautiful evening. So now we are going to start some discussions which are really wanted in the industry, but also sometimes are less discussed. Like what will be the AI's impact on people, going for the, you can say, going for opting for the office space, or how will this GCC react to this AI impact, and how will it impact to the future of particular commercial real estate in the Indian topography. So with this panel, we want to actually, throw some light from different part of the industry. Maybe from the point of view of finance, from the point of view of basically how tech looks at it, from the point of view how managed office spaces are looking at it. So these all will actually act a lot of, you can say, mindset and also some enlightening ideas how our thought process should actually be in the direction where we think of scaling GCCs in the country like India. So now we will be starting off with the panel discussion. As you can see, the things are getting proceeded. Yeah. So I had also discussed this thing with the team also when we were looking at such findings from the thing. So we were also surprised how this particular index is also going to shape how people are going to opt for their workplace strategy. Like before the COVID part, people were not even thinking of the areas like कि हम एक दिन घर पे बैठ के काम कर रहे होंगे, right? Or maybe we're working in a hybrid office situation. Or maybe we're working like one day at an office and second day we're working from home, right? So if these things are changing in the workplace strategy, so maybe there will also be an impact where actually, these things will also reshape how people are looking at, expanding their offices in the country. Okay, so now we're starting with the panel. As you can see, the stage is set. First of all, I would like to call Mr. Sunil Warrior from the Table Space Acquisition. He heads it. Please, big round of applause, guys. To share the perspective from the developer finance perspective, we have on stage Mr. Sunil Ramchandani, CBO, Developer Finance, Tata Capitals. And now, to have the tech in the game. So the AI part is going to be filled by Mr. Mukesh Jain, CTO EVP from Cape Gemini. And obviously to moderate them and to ask some tricky questions to them, we have on stage Mr. Ramesh Nair, MD CEO, Mindspace Business Park and REITs. So thank you so much. Mr. Ramesh Nair, over to you.
Okay. Mukesh, let's deep dive quickly. The big elephant in the room. What's going to happen to office demand with all this talk of AI? I was meeting, I would have met 5-6 analysts per day. That's like more than 20-25 analysts over the last 4 days. 50 to 70% of the conversations was only about impact of AI on office space. What's going to happen today? Indian IT sector, around 9 million people work in the Indian IT sector. You saw Abhishek's charts. What's going to happen to all of them? You saw the India numbers. India is #1 office absorption market in the world today. What's going to happen?
Sure. Thank you. These are my personal views, not representing the company. So, see, while most of the people have seen AI for the last 3.5 years, I've been using AI for slightly more than that, about 34 years now, right? So 1992 was my first AI model which I created. Now, when I look at it, right, AI, it's the same story when we had computers in India, right? People are going to lose job. You know what happened, right? Now, while AI is there, multiple models have been created. Some people claim 5% productivity gain. Some people gain 20%, 50%. I've even seen 3x productivity gain. Now, with 3x productivity gain and everything, what is the option you have? 50% productivity gain, what options you have? Let go half of the team. That's the best option people think. But think again. Reverse it. Instead of letting go 50% team, can we not double the business? I think that's what the narrative which I'm talking to one of my Fortune 100 clients, whenever I talk to them, that you know what, let's increase the business part of it. Now think about it. Even with AI, AI is the generative AI, agentic AI has been there for some time now, 3 years now. Still more and more businesses coming to India. Because what they're saying, I have this much budget. Now dollar is giving me more value in India. So I'm able to do half the amount I can do the same work now. So what will I do the rest half? Increase me. I want more projects, more work to be done. So I think the IT sector is going to boom further. It's going to be a little bit drop, and then it's going to boom again because more and more people will be able to do. Who is going to build their AI? Again, we need IT people to build the AI as well, right? So that's what is going to come, slightly slump. Maybe another 3-4 months, you'll start seeing up, and I think demand is going to continue. I don't think people are going to lose job. Yes, people who have decided not to embrace AI, people who are still old technology and all, including leaders, these are people who probably will be left out. But they will be in. So the office space, to final answer to your question, office space, I think the demand will continue as more and more business shift to India. Now, people are more global also, right? They will be traveling. And then when people travel, they want to have space over there as well. So there will be redundant space as well, wherein you will see 50 offices empty because there will be people who will be coming in and out of it. So those are things which are the next probably set of office definition, I would say.
Mukesh, I remember when Sunil and me, the best years of our careers were between 2003 and 2008, when Indian IT sector was growing at 40 to 70%. I remember our revenues and our bonuses were also growing at 40 to 70% back then. Last few years has been flat. Flat in terms of very marginal revenue growth, very marginal profit growth. Headcount growth has been like 0% for some of the big IT majors. If they don't grow, then they don't need space. Where do you see the IT revenue growth over the next few years? I know it's all your personal views. You're not representing any organization.
So the revenue, I think what is happening is with the AI and everything, the margins have gone up drastically. So definitely the projects we are able to do with people, now we are able to do with agents, a significant portion, and that's growing actually.
But if you have AI agents, you don't need space, right?
You don't need space, definitely. We don't need as much space for AI agents. But who's going to babysit those agents, right? Now, if I'm having an average engineer, right now we are talking about a number which is 0.7. If I have this much employee, 0.7 agent they can run. One employee can run 0.7 agent.
Okay. Can you explain that for the common man?
So if I have 100 employees in the organization, right, I would have 70 agents which are working, right? Which means 70 agents are doing a job of 70 employees. Think from that angle.
Okay.
But this agent need to babysit. Who will babysit those employees? But this 0.7 is going to become 1:1 next year. Is going to go up to 2 by 2030. Which means one employee will be babysitting 2 agents. Which means the employment for agents will be more. But as I mentioned in the beginning, right, the more work, the budget and amount and all, more work is going to come. So which means you will still need more people, but with the same number of people, you are able to do more work. So yes, in that sense, the revenue might appear to be flat right now, but as AI revenue goes up, I think it's going to go up.
What happens to these 9 million people?
So I think 9 million people, maybe 1 million people probably need to reskill themselves and then look for another role. But 8 million people are already in big time skilling themselves to be able to know how to build an agent, how to babysit an agent and grow further. So now their employability, their salary will going to go up significantly. There will be more demand, more movement will happen and so on. But this will be able to do more work with the same number of people. But the best part is the new incoming people, right? So every year, so many lakhs of people will be coming in the workforce, and they will probably be taking on the similar role, and they are a lot more ready. My son works for Databricks, just 1 year in the role, right? Already fully having 17 agents working for him right now.
How many?
17 agents.
Okay.
And that doesn't mean that one agent equal to one employee. It doesn't mean that way. But yeah, it's a good ratio to see. And spending a lot of dollars in cloud to have this agent running. But the main point is he's adding value. The whole point for people to grow in AI is adding value. Coming back to your question, will we get less work in India or will there people more unemployed? Few people will be unemployed, but more work will come because they want to help somebody in India run this. Imagine if I want to hire an AI experienced person in US, $350,000 nowadays.
And in India?
India, you can get the almost same skilled people at a junior level for 25 lakh rupees.
20?
25 lakh rupees.
25 lakh.
If you want to really expert and all, you're talking about 1.5 to 2 CR.
Got it.
So you still have a cost arbitrage.
Sunil, your sector is doing so well. I was checking the various IPC reports. Last year, out of all the demand, 21 to 26% was just flex demand. And today, close to 100 million square feet out of the 900 million square feet Abhishek showed us from your industry. How are you seeing demand from AI companies? Are you seeing any slowdown? The other day, last week when we met, you just said you've closed 300,000 square feet deals in Hyderabad. And just want to kind of hear your take on AI impact on overall office and on your industry.
I think from an AI's perspective, when it comes to pure play real estate division, what generally we are seeing is early adaptation of machine learning. You know, we need to still see the real impact of AI because it has to do a lot to do with the cyber laws what we have in the country. But to answer your point, yes, this sector has been extremely in the forefront of helping, especially the
But
mandates.
if AI was taking all the jobs, how would you be doing so well? Your demand is going up every day, right?
Okay, so I think it's an interesting point. Abhishek and his entire report has been about predictivity analysis around the rental. And my view is rent has always been the lead actor in any script. That's how it's been projected. But I think the supporting actor, which could be an execution, is the main character. And a lot of companies are coming to operators like us manage because we are able to adapt to their business requirement and are able to provide solutions at scale and at a very shorter deployment of capital, as well as making their businesses able to, from the I would say, from the prototype model to productivity model at a very short time frame. And that's why this sector is doing extremely well.
Have you, Sunil, come across any client who came back and said, sorry, Sunil, here are the keys. We are shutting this because of AI impact and these jobs are no longer there. Have you occupy like what, how much million square feet do you occupy now?
We're just shy of 12.
12 million square feet. In that, have you seen any client actually come and say that we are giving up space because of AI impact?
No, and to the contrary, it's been other reverse. So most of the companies who have partnered with us have started with a very small footprint, and they have gone into hyper growth over the last 12 months, right? We have clients who started off relationship with 50 seats in one particular cities, and now we are collaborating with them to 3,000, 4,000 seats in just 1 year time. And that is not only happening in the city what we started the relationship with, but it is now graduated to other cities, like, you know, the top 3 cities. So I am not seeing this as a slowdown. And as Mukesh mentioned, that it always creates opportunity. And this is nothing new, you know, we don't, I mean, it's over-celebrated, the impact of AI is what I feel, my personally believe. Even if you look at the back office work which the company used to do in early 2000, and coming to your point, there the back office was saying that the technology and the people were upfront of the cost solution for the client. And as you start understanding the client processes, the manpower kind of scales down and the technology starts doing the work. Now today is the same thing is happening, like Mukesh said. You know, I don't need 100 people to do the job, and I can perhaps do that job with 10 people because I can ride on technology. But at the same time, it frees up 50 people to chase new business opportunities. And by being in conversation with the client, you might have started a relationship with one particular client on a particular business operations. And as you keep on spending time in the client environment, you understand that that scope can be, you know, further strengthened and broadened. And rather than saying I would do A, B, C, D activity for a client in a business operation or business solution, by just being there in the environment with the client, you are able to scale that I will do A to Z for you.
Sunil, are you seeing demand from companies like OpenAI, Anthropic, all these guys? Are they setting up offices in India? Because the other day I was reading that New York, San Francisco, all these cities, the biggest demand driver is AI companies wanting space, and they're willing to pay top dollar rentals to attract top dollar talent. So have you started seeing that move to India, or India is still GCC driven?
I think predominantly it's still seen as a GCC market. And as I had mentioned, AI is yet to be seen in the full-fledged form, what people are anticipating and what the technology gurus has been talking, especially because most of these AI, they're very close to patent rights. They're very secured around the kind of security around zero trust network architecture, what you have in your technology field. I think we need to, as in India, we need to probably demonstrate some of those things so that the AI mandate can actually come to India and not just the development stage, if I've answered that query. But at the same time, as I had mentioned earlier, most of the mandates are around GI. And we are seeing companies expanding under this model as and when they become comfortable with the real estate solution. But more importantly, I think it's about the manpower. And businesses go where the manpower is. Real estate is incidental to what business objectives and the solutions a lot of corporates are looking at.
Sunil, when you're one of the big lenders for real estate in India and developer financing, today when you lend to a commercial project, does the board, the investment committee, are they starting to get worried of the AI impact? Because your loans are 5, 10, 15 years. And
so I actually came here to get that answer. And now you ask me that.
So nobody knows the answer is what you're saying.
Will AI disrupt? And will the office space game change? Yes, it will. But will we actually lose space? We don't think so. Ramesh, if you look back, if I look back about 20 years, I've been part of this industry in some form or fashion for over 25 now. When the whole office space investment started in India, and Abhishek showed that dollar all the way. It was always about price arbitrage. It's now, in my mind, moved to talent arbitrage. Occupiers will go where the talent is. And the talent is in India. If AI needs innovation, it needs talent. That talent is in India. Those centers will set up in India. And that talent is demanding. It's not going to sit out of 50 square feet or 60 square feet. It's probably going to demand 100 square feet. So the quality of workspaces will change. And that's the transformation we will see. And I agree when Mukesh and Sunil both say, right? So we saw computers coming into our bank branches maybe in the late 90s, early 90s. Have the number of bank branches on the street in 1995 gone down from where they are today?
Much more today.
Or has the business actually gone up that the banks do? It didn't disrupt. In the sense, it didn't disrupt where banks stopped operating. It disrupted where the banks produced more. So that's the disruption we believe that will happen. We believe that this change will actually help India produce more because we have the talent here. And innovation requires collaboration, and collaboration doesn't happen sitting at home. Right? I don't think me and my wife can cook a dish together without blaming each other for who put salt more. Collaboration happens at the workplace. You need to be physically there to be able to brainstorm, to be able to build onto each other's ideas, and to be able to create something which is meaningful and which is disruptive.
Sunil, tell us about interest rates. Last 5-6 months, it's all over the place. We were looking reasonably good till around last quarter of calendar quarter of last year. And since then, it's been a little challenging. Where do you see interest rates heading?
I thought we were discussing talent and GCCs. Why interest
We're not
rates?
going to let you go without your true expertise.
It's a wait and watch. It's really a wait and watch. there is a lot that's happening globally, right? So it's going to be tough to call at this moment whether, we see, suddenly we'll see short-term rates go up. Suddenly with a global announcement, the short-term rates suddenly cool down. We saw CPs go up by almost about 1.75% in a whimper, and then suddenly we saw that correcting. So it's really tough to call which way it will go. From our perspective, I would always tell you that I would scare you so that I can charge you more.
Sunil, you want to make one big forecast for commercial real estate for 5 years' time. Now we're in 2026. A big change you will see in 2031. What would that one big forecast be? I'll remember what you made forecasted today, and I'll catch you in 2031.
Yeah, so I think it's very clear the way our industry has been doing, right? Earlier it was struggling around single digits. Now it is already 20-25%, and I would be surprised in forget about 5 years. I'm saying in next 2 years, I won't be surprised if it is 35%, 45% of the overall office leasing.
Your industry, the flex enterprise.
Just pure play flex I'm talking about. The reason for that is a lot of these companies, obviously the GCC market has been captive, but there are a lot of mid-sized companies and PE-based enterprises which has come in, and they want to run a prototype, and if that prototype is successful, they want to grow into a hyper-growth model. And I believe that managed office is the best solution probably for these corporates, because they can scale in a very predictable manner, and they can, if any CFOs are there, Sunis are there, a managed operator can give you probably a 10-year, a 5 years cash flow, right? So this is how your business can run if you do the business with us. So that opacity, which, this entire real estate industry thrive on, can be easily addressed. So I can make a decision making for a CFO or a business very simple by saying that if you partner with us, I can write off your cost for next 5 years or 10 years, depending upon the arrangement. And that gives a lot of comfort and predictability for the businesses to grow in an industry which is known for lack of transparency. And we have seen that happening. And more importantly is...
So you're saying nearly 40% in 5 years. The industry will be 40% flex.
I think it will be earlier.
It could be earlier also, okay.
Yes.
The other day I was...
It has to be hand in hand with developer friends like yourself who control the large landscape space, because if we are going to take the space, and I think this has to be a very collaborative approach between developer friends and us. And we can probably bring in these companies to get them up and running as quickly as possible to a certain size. And then the growth partnership can be with the developer friends. So as long as we understand each other that I'm not trying to take your business away, I'm just trying to facilitate your the sales initiative, and you see me as a alternate asset class in your scheme of things, I think this partnership can work wonderful for the country and the overall technology mandate which everyone is running in the different forums.
Sunil, one prediction for 5 years, 2031.
It's India story.
India story. Mukesh, you want to... One big prediction.
So with AI and all, I think people are, there will be more and more demand for flexible offices, primarily because more and more gig worker economy will be practical, wherein people will be studying, working for multiple companies, at the same time work from anywhere, right? So they more and more going back to the roots, wherein people want to go back to the hometown and work from there probably will happen. Same thing for me. After working 13 years in US, came back to Mumbai, right? So they wanted to be. So I think those change will happen a lot, I think, in 5 years.
Sunil, are you seeing any formation of any bubble anywhere? Over the years, we've seen so many bubbles in real estate burst. Any pockets, any asset classes where overbuilding, oversupply, everyone seems like nothing will go wrong? What's your big fear?
what keeps me awake every time we cut out a check for a development is the amount of luxury housing that's happening. And whether the absorption will keep pace with the supply. Yes, the entire demand dynamics of what the client wants, what the consumer wants, changed from 2021 till 25. We saw that change post-COVID, right? So some of the products which were under manufacturing pre-COVID, the smaller configurations didn't do well, the larger configurations did well because of the kind of need for space we felt being locked up at home. But have we overdone it? Is it a road with a speed limit of 80 and I'm driving at 160? That's my worry. The rest, for all that we hear on office space and AI disruption, etc., when I look at data of number of engineers who pass out every year, number of commerce graduates who pass out every year, and the number of people who actually join the workforce, tells me that the office demand will continue. In which form and fashion it may change, the industries may change, right? I heard Abhishek saying we've started occupying more space and premium space, right? So there will be newer businesses, right? And like I said, to me, the biggest plus for India is our talent pool. And that will make things happen. So only thing is I'll be worried about, there may be a phase where we may see a slowdown in certain segments, which could be luxury real estate in my mind. Housing will continue. Again, it's what kind of housing that may change for a bit.
Sunil, what keeps you awake at night?
Probably execution.
Execution challenges. Can you elaborate that in a couple of sentences?
So, as I said, it's all speed to the market. So whenever you're chasing a new mandate or initiative, I think the business wants to get up and running as quickly as possible. So you need to get your execution strategy upfront and right, so that you don't have any lags once you hit the ground. And then you can predict that a particular infrastructure is going to get delivered at a particular time frame, so that whatever manpower planning and the businesses is associated with the ramp up can happen. So I think the execution is key, and rest of the things can.
Fine. Mukesh, what keeps you awake at night? Big risk, big worry.
I get good sleep, but I don't think I worry much about it. But what I'm worrying about in general, right? India might miss the AI train. The reason I'm saying that is because
India missing the AI
train.
Train, okay.
The primary reason for that is even after so many years, right? Even today when I'm advised to 19 university, I'm pushing really hard for them to change the subject. Even now they have one subject called prompt engineering. Come on, you need a subject by itself, but still not teaching the agentic part of it, the think part of it. And some people say, you know what? I've done 2 hours course on agentic and now I'm an AI engineer. No, you cannot be AI engineer in 2 hours, right? So that skill part at the university level, at the policy level for India, but at the same time at the individual level, right? Are you upskilling yourself? Right? I asked senior leaders, oh yeah, I use Claude, I use the ChatGPT. For what? For improving my email. Come on, that's not AI, that's the good use of AI. I think that understanding and fear that AI is here and is going to take away your jobs, if you're not upskilling yourself, you'll be out. That is still missing. The seriousness, urgency is missing. And that's what I worry about a lot of people, that things may go. Of course, I'm doing a lot of AI workshop for leaders. But again, after 2 days, then wow, we didn't realize AI so much. We need to learn so much. I think still a long way to go for India to be ready for this.
Sunil, what's one big change you've seen in the last 5 years? What occupiers asked in 2021 versus today? One big expectation change from occupiers?
See, moving into a grade A building is hygiene. Choosing a building which is compliance with ESG mandate is a given. These are all hygiene, right? Nobody is going to pay you an extra dime just because you are a grade A building or you can't. Now, what has changed is that, as like Mukesh and my friends have been telling, the expectation of the person who's the employee who's coming to the new workspace, that has changed. So it is more of collaborative, and I'll add one point onto that later. And so the design is to increase the productivity. That is more important. The lot of importance given on infrastructure, how you're going to build and manage, and how you're going to bring in tech in running and digitization and digital technology in running these offices has become very, very critical. So they can have predictive data, so you can analyze occupancy levels in your office. You can see how you're doing faring on your energy consumption, how the meeting rooms and other things are getting occupied. Because you create these meeting rooms, but it is not necessarily that those meeting rooms are getting occupied on day one. So with all this, most of the companies are coming with a game plan in mind. But they say that I would like to start with a point A, which can be a day one scenario, and how well I can, depending upon that day one scenarios and my productivity, I can immediately scale to a day two scenario. So we are bringing in those flexibilities for corporates with a certain infrastructure for them to start and then scale at a very short notice to whatever their business model is. So that is changing, for a lot of corporates. And access to talent, the right talent, access to social infrastructure like Abhishek had mentioned and Mr. Jain has mentioned is becoming very critical in terms of choosing a particular developer or an operator in this case. And these are the fundamentals of things. So real estate as an infra and real estate as hospitality, because a lot of these companies want their employees to be, services becoming a very big differentiator, right? So your expectation from an office environment has changed post-COVID. And that's what it is. I think hospital, SaaS, if I call it real estate as a service, collaborative spaces, and execution is very critical for.
Great. Kind of let's summarize the key learnings for today. So Mukesh, you spoke about more productivity, more business. Margins will definitely go up. Very interesting to hear you say 0.7 agent per person will, in the next few months, is going to be 1.1 agents per person. You said 8 out of the 9 million people in the IT industry are already reskilling or reskilled. It was good to hear. You said in US, if you need a top-class AI engineer, it's $350,000 versus 25 lakhs here. Sunil, you spoke about AI impact will take time. Managed offices industry, your industry is offering solutions at scale today, which is not the case a few years back. AI companies implementing hyper growth, companies adopting, and you said don't over-celebrate the impact of AI, which people are doing. Sunil, you spoke about you yourself are searching for the AI impact answer, so am I. Nobody has the answer. From one, you said India has moved from price arbitrage to talent arbitrage. AI needs innovation, innovation needs talent, and India has talent. You made that statement. Quality of workspaces will change. Collaboration obviously won't happen sitting at home. And you said interest rates, there's so much happening, it's a wait and watch kind of an approach, tough to predict. Sunil, your big prediction was 40% of industry in 5 years' time will be your industry, which is the flex industry. Sunil, you spoke about it'll be the India's story 5 years down the line. Mukesh, and you said it'll be a very gig worker, flex-driven industry. Sunil, your big fear, you said oversupply in residential housing, luxury housing is a fear. You said don't drive at 160 when speed limits are at 80. Sunil, you said execution challenges still continue. And,
what I meant by saying is that execution is the key.
That keeps
so that's what you should be focusing on, and not necessarily the fear part of it, but that is where you should be focusing as a business.
And Mukesh, you said India missing the AI train would be a few. And you spoke about how spaces are going to become more collaborative, and that's the big change which has happened. So thank you, everyone. We have drinks and snacks being served. So let's all meet there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I would like you guys to be, just wait for a while there itself as we start with the facilitation of the panel speakers. I would request Mr. Ramesh Nair to felicitate each one of them, starting with Mr. Mukesh Jain, CTO EVP Cape Gemini, Next to go, Mr. Sunil Ramchandani, Chief Business Officer, Developer Finance, Tata Capital. Next we have Mr. Sunil Warrior, Chief Acquisition at Table Space. So on that note, we are towards the end of this beautiful evening that we had. So now, I would like to call Mr. Abhishek Kiran Gupta, CEO, CRE Matrix, for the closing remarks.
So I already said thanks to everyone, but each and all from media to my team, to my friends who've come on such short notice. Ramesh, wonderful, Venu. So thank you very, very much. Report Padna, please read it. And Ms. Chima, for the third time, we need your blessings to make the index REIT ready. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.